Last time on the Black Ops 3 Zombies 10-year anniversary retrospective, we talked about Shadows of Evil, and I came to the conclusion that it's a great map, but it was not a great launch map for Black Ops 3. It was just way too complex, and the game itself had some gameplay oddities at launch that helped contribute to Black Ops 3 initially being very negatively received. One of the other big contributing factors was just that Shadows of Evil was the only map to play at launch. There was another map, The Giant, which is the subject of today's retrospective, but from November 2015 until June 2nd of 2016, the map was only playable to owners of the $50 Season Pass, which seriously impacted its potential player base for a long time. But nowadays, the map can just be bought separately for $6, and most people own it at this point. And in the decade since it came out, the map has sort of become a fan favorite. For a long time, it was the only super simple map in Black Ops 3. It's a map you can load up and just be fully set up on in like 15 minutes. Let's see if Black Ops 3's new take on the classic Zombies map is worth playing 10 years later. The gameplay on The Giant is incredibly simple because the map is just a remake of Riese from World at War. I wouldn't even go so far as to call it a reimagining, as the most drastically different thing about the map is just the characters. Riese has the Ultimus crew, and The Giant has Primus. If you've ever played Riese before, you've basically played The Giant, and vice versa. You either go to the left or to the right, and you open up a couple doors to reach the power switch, which opens up several more doors and lowers a bridge that connects the two main halves of the map. Then to open up Pack-a-Punch, you need to link the 3 teleporters to the pad in the spawn room, which is also where Pack-a-Punch was located. After you link a teleporter, you can use it for 1500 points as a quick escape route back to the spawn room. But this has just never been a feature that I use frequently on the older versions of Riese because the map is so small that it usually just isn't worth spending that many points to travel such a short distance. But The Giant does have a new use for the teleporters, which we'll talk about later. There are 3 lightning traps around the map, one on the way into the garage, one on the way into animal testing, and then one underneath the bridge near the back of the map that connects these 2 separate areas. The traps cost 1000 points and will kill any zombies and damage any player that pass underneath them while they're active. The Giant has dog rounds, like Riese. They happen every 5 to 7 rounds or so, or maybe 6 or 7 rounds, and you'll get a max ammo after the dog rounds finish. Hellhounds will also start spawning in alongside normal zombies after round 16. Although you won't be seeing too many of them outside of their dedicated rounds. Gameplay-wise, probably the biggest shakeup is that the perk locations are randomized on the Giant. There are 6 on the map. Juggernog, Speed Cola, Double Tap, Quick Revive, and Mule Kick are the main 5 that will be scattered in the 5 different main perk locations around the map from the Black Ops 1 version of Riese. Then you'll either have Stamina Up or Deadshot Daiquiri. You're supposed to do a whole Easter egg to uncover it, but if you have a Gobblegum that gives you free perks, you can just get it without doing the Easter egg. Returning as the Wonder Weapon on the map is the Wunderwaffe DG2, the OG, and it performs exactly how you'd expect the Wunderwaffe to perform. It shoots lightning, and when you hit a zombie with it, the lightning will arc around and it'll kill up to 10 zombies total per shot. Get 3 shots in a clip with 15 in reserve when not Pack-a-Punch, so up to 180 kills if each shot is fully optimized. When Pack-a-Punch, it becomes the Wunderwaffe DG3JZ. The lightning becomes red, but the actual killing power stays the same, up to 10 zombies per shot. All that really increases is the ammo, which doubles to 6 shots in a clip and 30 in the reserve. I'm not going to shit on the Wunderwaffe, because it's the classic Zombies Wonder Weapon, and it would practically be heresy if it weren't on the Giant. And it's not even a bad gun at all. If anything, I think it just serves as a good reference point for how much better everything is in Black Ops 3 compared to an older game where the Wunderwaffe appeared, like Black Ops 1 or World at War. Because the Wunderwaffe, again, is identical statistically to its older iterations. When Pack-a-Punch, you get 36 shots, so up to 360 kills, and that's pretty solid for a Wonder Weapon. It's just that you'd be better off with pretty much anything else in Black Ops 3, solely due to the alternate ammo types. I mean, Deadwire literally does the same thing, but only kills 9 zombies instead of 10, but can and will activate more than 36 times before you run out of ammo. So for as classic of a Wonder Weapon as the Wunderwaffe is, I just rarely ever find myself using it on the Giant. It just isn't the best thing there is on the map. But that pretty much covers the gameplay. Again, it's basically just Riese, but in Black Ops 3 and with some other little changes, like now you have Gobblegums and the new movement, etc. If you enjoyed Riese, you'll probably really like the Giant as well. The main purpose that the Giant serves is to be Black Ops 3's survival map, just a casual map you can load up and be set up on within minutes, where the main focus really is just the core gameplay of the mode. And in that regard, I think the Giant really succeeds. Now this is the part of the video where I would normally discuss the characters on the map, but since all the Black Ops 3 maps going forward feature Primus, it seems a little redundant to reintroduce them for each map. So I'm just going to mention what changes with each character from map to map in the story section. Speaking of the story section, the Giant is set after Shadows of Evil in the timeline, and they serve very different purposes. Shadows of Evil is a mostly self-contained map that mostly serves to introduce all the new things that Black Ops 3 introduced into the story, like the Apothecans, the Shadow Man, and the Summoning Key. The Giant, on the other hand, is what really kicks off the main narrative of Black Ops 3 Zombies that would be followed up on throughout the course of the DLC cycle. But there's another big difference between these maps, and it's just the level of clarity that we have about the story. Basically, everything is explained and evenly laid out with Shadows of Evil, but there's just a lot of unanswered questions with the Giant and how exactly it works, not only as a follow-up to Shadows of Evil, but especially to Origins. The actual plot of the map is pretty simple. Like I said in the Shadows video, the multiverse aspect of Black Ops 3 really feels more like a time travel story. Primus Richthofen, after stealing the Summoning Key from the Sinners at the end of Shadows of Evil's Easter egg, travels to Riese to stop his older self, who is Ultimus Richthofen, from teleporting Maxis, which was what we heard on the radios in the original Riese, and in the intro to this map, which that is what preceded Shi No Numa in World at War. Primus Richthofen comes out of the teleporter and paints the floor with his older self's brains. The main weird thing is that the rest of Primus is here, and even to this day, we really have no idea as to what happened to them between the end of Origins and the beginning of the Giant. Even based off the timeline, which is supposed to be one of the main sources for info to answer questions like this, all we know is that one minute they're getting sucked up into Agartha in 1918 France, and the next they're in 1943 Germany/Poland, and they just spent 2 years planning to stop Richthofen, whatever that means. We know exactly what Primus Richthofen was up to, since this is where the comics fit into the timeline, but as for the rest of the Primus crew, it's kind of just a blank nothing. But Primus Richthofen killing Ultimus Richthofen creates a fracture dimension, and this is the main way that Black Ops 3 explores the multiverse. To put it simply, COD Zombies is a story with time travel. Going back in time and changing something doesn't change the future, instead that timeline splits off into another timeline where things can be drastically different, kind of like a butterfly effect, cause and effect sort of thing. Primus Richthofen killing his older self at the Riese facility before the events of Shi No Numa creates the Deceptio fracture. And since Richthofen's killed, instead of Riese happening, the Giant happens in this fracture instead, starring Primus. But the weird thing is that in the intro cutscene, Primus say that they know that the future can be changed and will be changed by what Richthofen does, so it seems like they kind of know what's going on. They even tell Ultimus Richthofen to wake up the test subjects, who are presumably the rest of the Ultimus crew, which would make the timeline continue as normal. But then as the match progresses, they comment about losing memories and forgetting why they're there, so this all just kind of goes unexplained. You know, whatever, it's fine. And speaking of weird things people think about the Giant, while researching this video, I learned that there is a decent group of people who think that the Giant is set in a universe where the Nazis never rose to power because Germany won World War I. And this is mostly because Black Ops 3 replaced a lot of Nazi imagery like swastikas with iron crosses, because until 2018, Germany had a ban on video games that contained swastikas. This is why if you go onto like the Xbox store and you look up Black Ops 1, you will find a separate German version of Black Ops 1 and all of its DLCs, because there's a separate version with all that imagery replaced. On top of the Iron Crosses, most instances of the Group 935 logo throughout Black Ops 3 are a censored version that replaces the SS lightning bolts that formed at the wrist of the hand. Now it's just 3 lines. Personally, I think it was just easier for Treyarch to just remove all these symbols from all versions of the game instead of making a Germany-specific version like they did with older CODs on the previous generation of consoles. The main linchpin of this theory is that some people say that Germany won World War I in Dimension 63 due to the technology that they had on that map, like the giant robots. Which in concept sounds really cool. You know, I love myself some alt history in my video games, but the only proof for this theory is that there's nothing stating that they lost World War I in Dimension 63, which is just a really weak argument. And it's a theory that I personally just don't subscribe to. And even if they did win World War I in Dimension 63, I have no idea how that would apply to the Giant. It feels like people just trying to justify the censorship with a lore explanation when sometimes censorship is just that, plain and simple. And there's something else on this map that was added on the Giant that I'll get to soon that I feel like pretty handily disproves this theory. But the more that I think about it, even less happens on the Giant than we used to think. At least back in the day, it was a popular theory that Richthofen collected his soul from Ultimus Richthofen during the cutscenes, since he kneels down next to his body and is off camera for a few seconds. Naturally, this led to people thinking that this is when he collected his soul, but in the comics it was revealed that Richtofen got his soul off screen between the events of Shadows of Evil and the Giant. So that theory, and as a result, what was believed to be the biggest plot point of the Giant, was proven completely false. And then during the event of the map, Primus lights a beacon, so that Maxis can locate them and help them. And that's the story of the Giant. It's really weird, and really not a lot happens. The radios on the map don't really help to clarify anything either, and if anything, they just make things worse. 8 of them are from Maxis, and some of the events that they describe don't line up one-to-one with events that we know of to this day, so we aren't even 100% sure what they mean. Then there are 3 more from Primus Dempsey, Nikolai, and Takeo respectively, addressing other versions of themselves, probably the Ultimus versions that are at Riese. But even these are odd and describe events we've just never seen on screen, like several other dead Richtofens that just don't ever get mentioned again. So yeah, the Giant doesn't really make sense story-wise and has quite a few plot holes. The story is absolutely the weakest part of the Giant, but still it does serve its main purpose, which is just reuniting Primus and getting them all in one place so that they are together for the following maps. Thankfully, the atmosphere is an area that I think the Giant is much stronger in. The Giant is the most visually unique version of Riese that we have ever gotten. A big part of it is just Black Ops 3's lighting engine. Like, this is literally the darkest version of Riese we've ever seen. But it's also the coldest feeling version. The outdoor sections of the map are very blue, and unlike the original Riese, the Giant is a snowy map. There's snow piled up outside, and there's a constant flurry throughout the course of your game. But the interiors and just most of the lights on this map are very saturated reds and oranges, which really help to give places like zombie spawn windows a good contrast, so that you know that they're important. The map definitely has less realistic and less natural lighting compared to Riese, but I think that helps it to kind of stand out on its own, and is really one of the main reasons why I can see people thinking of the Giant as a reimagining more so than a remake, even though I personally don't think it really does that much different to be qualified as a reimagining. The different colors also apply to the skybox and the eclipse, which is one of my favorite parts of the atmosphere of both of these maps. Riese, again, looks more realistic. The sky is black and gray, and the corona of the eclipse is white, like what you would expect from a real total solar eclipse. On the Giant, the sky is a deep hue, and the corona is blue as well. If anything, I prefer how the eclipse looks on the OG Riese. I just find it more striking looking. But again, the word I would use to describe the vibe of the Giant is cold, like literally cold. The interiors of the map are also pretty morbid, especially the animal testing part of the map. There's brains in jars and kennels where the animals were kept. It's by no means a scary map, but it does have some unnerving aspects, just as a symptom of being a remake of a World at War map. Since back then, Zombies was going for much more overt of a horror vibe. Basically, all the spooky details from the original Riese are also present in the Giant. There's the bloody paw print under the stairs by Teleporter C, the hanging man outside the map, the pair of legs floating inside the vat in front of Teleporter B. You know, the kind of details that aren't crazy important or anything, but help to give the map a stronger vibe. The map also has the max ammo icon that would become standard across all Black Ops 3 maps. It's blue colored and is the top of the mainframe teleporter with the group 935 symbol behind it. I also feel like the scope of the Riese facility feels much grander on the Giant, even though the actual playable area of the map is the exact same as the World at War version. The big example of this is that behind the spawn room under the eclipse, you can see the assembly of a Riese, one of the giant robots from Origins. This makes the name of the map being the Giant take on a very literal meaning, aside from just being a literal translation of Riese into English. Since aside from Primus reuniting, the giant robot is probably the most important thing that happens on the Giant story-wise, since it's how Primus gets to the following map, Der Eisendrache. But my favorite new detail can be found near Teleporter C, in the little dead-end hallway you can go into that runs under the quick revive room. Inside this hallway is one of the zombie spawn windows. On the original Riese, it's just an empty tunnel or like a cave, and it honestly kind of looks a little out of place with just how barren it is. But on the Giant, it's been completely changed. Now it's got shelves and crates on the other side of the window, but at the bottom of the tunnel you can see a train car and stacks of golden bars. This is supposed to be the infamous Nazi gold train, and it's some real Indiana Jones shit. So basically, the Nazis looted tons of gold before and during World War II. Same with artwork. Did you know that they looted around 20% of the artwork in Europe during the war? Well, by the end of the war, with the US, Britain, France, and the other allied powers coming from the west, and the Soviets in the east, it was clear that they were fighting and losing battles. So they started to hide large stashes of the art in gold, probably to come back and get it later. A lot of that artwork in gold is still unaccounted for to this day. They hid it in castles and mines, and especially important to the story, in trains. There's an urban legend about a train that the Nazis loaded up with golden artwork that just completely vanished somewhere in southwestern Poland. Der Riese, the Zombies map, is heavily based off the real-life Project Riese, which was a series of 7 underground structures in the Owl Mountains of southwestern Poland that the Nazis were building in the later years of World War II. They used concentration camp prisoners for slave labor, and the details are just sad and depressing to read about. Sickness and malnutrition ran rampant and claimed the lives of thousands of prisoners. But by the beginning of 1945, the Soviet front line was making its way through Poland and near the site of Project Riese, causing the Nazis to evacuate the nearby concentration camps and abandon the project as a whole. To this day, we really don't know what the purpose of Project Riese even was, whether it was supposed to be a command center or weapons factories. Nobody really knows. It's just one of those mysteries that we'll likely never get a proper answer to. That got kind of heavy all of a sudden. What were we talking about again? Zombies. Okay, yeah. So Der Riese / the Giant is set in southwestern Poland. There's a legendary Nazi gold train that supposedly went missing in southwestern Poland. You can probably see where I'm going with this. Treyarch added in the gold train to the Giant as a neat little Easter egg to add more lore to the map, and I think it's a very cool detail. Because this is the kind of stuff that Zombies was originally all about back in World at War. Taking real-life World War II conspiracy theories and using them to build a compelling mystery and world. It's an aspect of the Zombies world building that pretty much got dropped as the series went into Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2, so it's nice to see Treyarch add something like this into the Giant. Almost like they're paying homage to the mode's humble beginnings way back when. It's also the thing that I feel pretty much debunks the whole Germany won World War I in the Zombies timeline theory, because if that were the case, the gold train would have no reason to be on the map, plain and simple. So to quickly sum up the atmosphere of the Giant in 5 words, it's Der Riese, but blue. In a few more words, it's a really fun new snowy take on Der Riese that also adds more depth to the facility outside of just tweaking the weather and color grading of the map. But it's time to wrap things up with one of my favorite things to talk about for any Zombies map, the Easter eggs. And the Giant has a good handful of them that I think are worth talking about. The Giant shares its main quest with Der Riese, sort of. The Flytrap. The Flytrap was the first real big Easter egg in a Zombies map ever. It's not quite the first Easter egg quest, since it's really only 1-2 steps at most, depending on what exactly you define as a step. So I still give credit to Ascension for having the first true Easter egg quest, but that probably wouldn't have existed without the Flytrap. And the Giant has a slightly remixed version of that Easter egg. To start the egg, look out this window across from the door to animal testing, right outside the spawn room. In the distance, you can see a weird stone ring based off the Mukolapka, also known as Hitler's Stonehenge, and this is a real-life stone structure at the Project Riese site that, much like the rest of the project, is shrouded in mystery. Mukolapka also translates to Flytrap, which is where the Easter egg gets its name from in both games. Shoot the panel on the Flytrap with a pack-a-punch gun. This will make a ring of green objects float up from the Flytrap as Maxis says he wants to play hide-and-seek. You place as Samantha as the narrator for this version of the quest, although all the dialogue is the same until the very end. Now you need to go find 3 toys around the map and shoot them. There's a simple monkey and an incinerator under teleporter A. There's a teddy bear in one of the vats in front of teleporter B. And there's a teddy bear on a balcony outside the map overlooking the power switch. After shooting all 3 toys, you can head to the furnace in the garage, and inside will be your prize, the Annihilator Specialist Weapon. The Flytrap Easter egg is super easy. You can easily do it in just a few minutes or less if you know what you're doing, and your prize is just about what you'd expect from such an easy Easter egg. The Annihilator is the worst specialist weapon in the game, hands down. It shoots pretty slowly and it has a really low ammo count. It just doesn't stack up to any of the other specialists in the game. It's nice to have, but I always just end up forgetting I even have it after I get it. The Easter egg itself is very short but sweet. I mean, it's the first real Easter egg of its kind. It is cool that the Giant remixes the locations of the toys, that helps it to feel a little fresh, although I think I prefer the locations of the toys in the original Der Riese. The monkey bomb in the furnace, the teddy bear with a knife standing in a flaming window overlooking the whole map, and the teddy bear with a bottle of Juggernog and the Pack-a-Punch 1911 just goes so hard. On the roof of the Teleporter C building, you can see the Icarus from Mob of the Dead. This Easter egg doesn't do anything but is part of a running Easter egg where the Icarus just keeps popping up on different maps. It was on Shadows of Evil 2, and the Giant won't be the last time we see it. It's just a fun detail that ties into the whole multiverse aspect of Black Ops 3. Aside from that, there's the musical Easter egg, of course, activated by interacting with 3 brains in jars. 2 near teleporter A and 1 near teleporter B. It's Beauty of Annihilation, but worse. It's an electronic remix of Beauty of Annihilation that I think just pales in comparison to the original. It sounds too clean without any of the guitar or screaming that gave the original song its edge. And the Giant replaces it with something that sounds like it could have been made in like GarageBand. I'm really not a fan of this song. And it's not even like it was a bad idea to re-record Beauty of Annihilation for this map. I know it's a very different type of game, but Metal Gear Solid Delta got Cynthia Harrell back in the booth to record a new version of Snake Eater. It sounds very different and has a new instrumentation than the original 2004 version, but it's not so drastically different that it misses the point and vibe of the original song. I think if they wanted to re-record Beauty of Annihilation, they really should have gone more that route with it. The last really notable Easter egg is unlocking the secret 6th perk, and it's actually the most involved Easter egg on the map, even more so than the fly trap in my opinion. First, you need to get the monkey bombs. This is the most time-consuming part and really does just rely on good RNG at the mystery box. Once you get monkey bombs, the rest is very simple. You need to go up to one of the teleporters and throw the monkey bomb into the teleporter. While the monkey is playing its song, take the teleporter back to spawn. There's this panel next to the teleporter pad in the spawn room, and one of the lights on the panel will now be green. Go do the same thing with the monkey bombs at the other 2 teleporters to light up the rest of the lights on the panel. Once all 3 lights are green, interact with the panel. The head of the robot hanging outside the map will shoot a laser from its eye, which will reflect off the Riese sign at a pile of snow next to the animal testing building, melting the snow and revealing either Stamina or Deadshot Daiquiri as your secret 6th perk. The Giant keeps things very simple in the Easter egg department, which works since it's a very simple map. We have a new take on an old classic and a new cool Easter egg too, and one of the worst Easter egg songs in the mode's history, so you get a good range, a good spectrum of quality on this map. The Giant is Black Ops 3's take on a classic. Hell, the classic Zombies map, and it does a very good job of staying faithful to the original Riese while also doing enough of its own thing to stand strong as its own map too. It's probably my least favorite of the core 6 Black Ops 3 maps, but I still really enjoy it. Sometimes I just feel like loading up the Giant and killing half an hour without needing to worry about setting up or building a wonder weapon. Or when it's getting late and me and my friends want to play a Zombies map while we chat, we'll just load up the Giant. The story is incredibly lackluster on the Giant, with it not really making much sense in terms of storyline placement or really how 3/4 of Primus even got there, or what exactly they're doing there. It was never explained. But like I said earlier, the Giant is really only concerned with being a starting point for the rest of the DLC season to move forward from. Aside from the story, there's really only one big glaring issue with the map. It should have been free, man. Especially with Shadows of Evil being the launch map and getting a lot of less than glowing reviews at launch, casual players could have used something like the Giant. Or if they wanted to have the Giant be the Season Pass map, they should have had something else for free, like the Giant. I mean, Black Ops 3 is the only Treyarch Zombies game with a complex or difficult launch map that doesn't also have an easier, more casual alternative for free. The Giant is a really solid Zombies map, but there just isn't as much to say about it as there was for something like Shadows of Evil, or there will be for the DLC maps, as you can tell by the comparatively short runtime for this part of the retrospective. Still, it's a map I think is worth discussing, and I'm really happy to have done so. Thank you so much for watching. This is part 2 of the Black Ops 3 Zombies 10-year anniversary retrospective. The next video, of course, will be on Der Eisendrache, and will release in February to coincide with that map's 10th anniversary. If you're expecting a Black Ops 7 video, I probably won't be making one. After how disappointed I was by Black Ops 6 as that game's DLC season went on, I just have absolutely no desire to play Black Ops 7 right away, and I have some other games on my backlog I'd like to play first, like Silent Hill F. So expect some more non-zombies, more Scott the Wazzy type videos until the Der Eisendrache retrospective comes out. I've been your host, Tactic Zombies. Peace out and God bless. I'll catch you next time.
Yeah, cause I got it like that. Flow so smooth like I got it on tap. Yeah, and I'ma say it be a good night while I'm on my Yingling, while I'm drinking Bud Light. Can you get it when you miss me?